Today my postcard is very much on Her Majesty's service. It's stamped with Windsor, Royal Windsor, in the Royal County of Berkshire.
Windsor has had a royal connection at least since the 11th century, when a strategic stronghold was built on the hill overlooking the Thames by William the Conqueror. The town grew up alongside the castle and river and has had a long and varied history. Some of Britain's most eminent names have been here. Samuel Pepys thought it was the most romantic castle in the world. Geoffrey Chaucer lived here as valet to King Edward III and Richard I. William Shakespeare wrote The Merry Wives of Windsor here in 14 days. And that hotel, the Hart and Garter, once the White Hart, is mentioned in it. It was first performed in the castle in front of Elizabeth I in 1597.
Well, we're in the oldest part of Windsor now. This is how it would have been 500 years ago. So this is Old Windsor, and up there we've got the warrant to execute King Charles I. As you know, he got beheaded, and one of the signatories was Oliver Cromwell on there. Oh, now this is what you really want to know about. This is where Nell Gwyn lived. I don't need to say too much about who Nell Gwyn was. You've seen enough oranges around there, haven't you? But Nell Gwyn was the mistress of King Charles II. And it was from one of those windows, as King Charles II was walking past here, that she threw his baby down to him and said, "Name your son." Well, the king, of course, didn't want to acknowledge his son because it was out of wedlock, but he called him the Duke of St Albans. Now, what he did with the baby afterwards, I just don't know. I can regale more regal tales of what's happened in Windsor Castle over the years. You may have heard of that ceremony, the Order of the Garter. Well, it started when King Edward III was having a little dance in there with a lady called Margaret, and her garter dropped to the floor. And all the lords and nobles who were dancing, all the men basically, turned round and saw the garter, and they all stood back and were thinking, to which King Edward III turned to them and said, "Honi soit qui mal y pense," evil to those who evil thinks. And you know, that is just what's on the royal coat of arms to this day. When members of the royal family come here to pray at St John's the Baptist Church here in Windsor, then that's where they sit. And that particular altar rail came from St George's Chapel in Windsor Castle. And those chairs are by someone called Grinling Gibbons, who everyone keeps telling me is really famous and very important when it comes to carving wood, presumably. He's done stuff at Hampton Court and Dorney. But it doesn't mean a thing to me, apart from the fact that they look quite nice.
Now, I've got a very short time to take you by the shortest route to the shortest street in Britain. Are you keeping up with me? There it is, Queen Charlotte Street, the shortest street in Britain. Now watch very carefully. That was Neil, the Grim Reaper, standing guard with his scythe in front of the dungeons of Windsor. Here you can see the gruesome and bloody side of Windsor's history. The crimes and their punishments are frighteningly recreated to give a taste of what it must have been like living here from the 13th century on.
Now this poor lad, John Dean, he was sentenced to death at Abingdon Assizes. Abingdon was then the county town of Berkshire. And he's about 8 or 9 years old, presumed to be the youngest person ever executed in this country. And his crime was that he set fire to part of the Hart and Garter Hotel, which you've actually seen in the High Street.
If you were accused of witchcraft, you could be burnt at the stake in front of the castle. And highwaymen like Claude Duval were hung for a penny, hung for a pound.
That's what happens when you go on too much.
And when you've had your fill of some of Berkshire's history, just 2 miles from the centre of Windsor, near Ascot, is a family theme park where there's all sorts of fun. You can even learn to drive Lego style. So let's have some fun, fun, fun!
Now this is good for the figure. Now remember, boys and girls, mums and dads, clunk, click every trip. Now that shows how old I am, because Jimmy Savile did that ages ago. It might go, oh, I'm green, I'm off. Oh, this is really sweet. I wonder if I'll get my licence. Licence to kill, judging by the way I was driving by the garage.